Welcome, everyone. I'm Dashama. So excited. We are starting our new series for the Flow State Yoga Teacher Training online. And every time we start a new series, it's a 12-week series of live sessions. And we have different guest experts that will be coming on throughout this series every Sunday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that's the time that we're doing it. And then this is also the video that you'll watch as the replay. If you're in the training and you miss it for some reason, you can always catch the replay. And the other thing that is exciting about this is it gives you an opportunity to interact with the community and really, get to communicate with me directly. This is a way that you can ask any questions that you have throughout the process. And it's a really beautiful way to what we call connect with Sangha. So in the yoga community, there's a word for this word Sangha. What it means is more or less community. It's a gathering of like-minded souls. That's really kind of the actual definition of Sangha. But I just want to kind of emphasize that our intention of this day, of this session, of these live experiences is always to bring more light into the world and to deepen the practice of flow state yoga. And this specific series is all very focused on trauma healing as well. So we have this trauma healing yoga teacher training. And the reason that we have an emphasis on it being trauma informed is that, to be honest, a lot of the world is very traumatized right now. It's hard to put it into words exactly what is going on, but I can speak to that today a little bit in terms of astrologically what's been happening. I was just on a podcast yesterday talking about this. We are amidst what they call a Capricorn transit, right? So Pluto has been transiting Capricorn for the past 25 years. It's nothing new. But when that energy, Pluto and Capricorn are both very masculine, very linear, very, it's a different energy, right? So we're transitioning out of this. And then next year, Pluto will be transitioning into Aquarius. So a lot of people in the spiritual community have talked about this for many years, the dawn of the age of Aquarius and all of that. And so that's really where we're headed as a human civilization, or however you want to think of it. And what it really means is that the divine feminine energy on the planet is rising. And when the divine feminine rises, the energy of that, and it doesn't mean women necessarily versus men, but it's the energy of femininity, the energy of loving, kindness, nurturing, compassion, and this care for others, like the care for Mother Earth, the kind of consideration. And that's really what yoga is all about. That's very much what flow state yoga is about, is to develop the quality of the character by honing our mind, training our mind, our emotions, and clearing out the clutter that blocks us from being and feeling that interconnected, loving energy that we are born as. All beings are actually born. Me amor, my puppy is beating up her toy.
Come here, baby. You want to say hi? He's like, yeah, I gotta say hi.
Oh my goodness. Hi, guys. And she had to make a cameo because she's like, you don't get it.
I am the star of the show and everything.
Oh, the camera got really blurry. Anyway, this is Mia Moore, my best friend. You'll see her from time to time throughout our live series. And she's a multi-poo. She's a little over 2 now, and she is just a bundle of love and joy. I'm a big advocate for animal therapy. So this is a trauma-informed yoga teacher training. And one of the things that we do like to emphasize is there are a number of things that you can integrate into trauma healing. And so one of them is definitely animals. Puppies especially, but actually horses, equine therapy. I have some friends that are specialists in equine therapy, and horses are also, there's just so many things about all the different types of animals that's just tremendously healing. But yeah, so throughout this journey, we're going to be doing different practices during these live sessions. And like I said, we'll also have some guest experts on every week. Next week, this week, we have Flor joining us for just a short time. I don't know if she's here right now, but and she's one of our graduates from the 500-hour training, and she is a specialist actually in the sort of like physical therapy side. So she was doing that for a career before joining and being a part of this. And it's a wonderful complement to what we do, because yoga therapy, yoga physical therapy, and then the other aspects of therapy that we offer, like emotional, mental, physical, spiritual healing, it all goes hand in hand, because we are holistic beings here having a human experience. And as we integrate our mind, our body, our spirit, and our emotional health, that's when we become more whole. And the word yoga in Sanskrit, the translation of it actually means to yoke or to make whole. So as we start to understand like the vast experience that yoga is, that's when it clicks, I think, even more. So as you're doing a yoga teacher training, sometimes in the beginning we may start out with what our perception of what yoga was or is before the training, and maybe it was a physical practice, maybe it was a place to go to find peace. There's different reasons why everybody gets into it. But one thing that's kind of the through line is the more you practice, the deeper you go in the practice and the journey of yoga, you start to understand that there is no delineation, like there's no border between you, like you as a self, you as a soul, and then everything else in existence. And as we start to really explore the realms of that, then that's where the magic happens. As we can see our interconnectedness to our ancestors, we can see our ancestral traumas and things that are passed down, and also the ancestral blessings, and things like that. So there's so many things that we explore, but we do have a huge emphasis on the physical and the breath work and the mental health practices. So in the yoga teacher training, you probably, if you're doing this, you probably have noticed that in the actual training itself, there is just a tremendous amount of, like videos. There's hundreds of videos in there. And they're all geared towards, or they're not hundreds of videos, but it's 200 hours. So that's like somewhat similar. But they're geared towards teaching you very specific techniques. Because as you learn that it's a science and an art. Yoga is a science and an art. And as we start to explore what that really means, then you start to see that the art of it is the creativity, right? The art of it is the aspect where you can learn to choreograph, you can create your class, you create the experience you want people to have through your teaching. And that's what you're going to be learning through these live sessions and also in the pre-recorded part of the training. So hopefully you're enjoying the training. And I'm trying to figure out what happened here, because I'm in Zoom, but it popped me out into this thing where I'm not able to see the rest of everybody currently. So hopefully nobody's like raising your hand right now because somehow I'm not able to see everybody else. Usually I can just see everybody. So maybe I can figure it out. Let's see. Anyway, show non-participant spotlight. Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully I can get it so that I can see everybody again. But we just to kind of do a little housekeeping. So this is a 2-hour workshop, and we'll be doing some practices right away. I want to start out with a kriya practice that I really love. And kriyas are part of the Kundalini lineage, but it's truly a remarkable and life-changing part of the practice, where we have the opportunity to combine breath work, meditation, affirmation or mantra, and then a yoga posture. So kriyas are kind of known as some of the most potent of all the practices. So some people will call that Kundalini yoga. Some people call it kriya yoga. Kriya, it actually translates to mean a purification technique. So that's why what it does, the intention of it is to purify your energy, right? So each kriya has a different sort of theme to it, right? So the one we'll do today is actually designed to help you clear any blocks to abundance and prosperity, which I like this kriya, not just because of that, but actually I just really like this kriya of how it makes you feel. There's a lot of breath work in it, and then there's a lot of like affirmational mantra type of practice. So it clears your energy so beautifully. And by the end of it, you feel like euphoric. And that's really what I mean. There's different intentions for every kriya. Like I have some kriyas that we teach, and you'll get in the yoga teacher training online, that are for opening your heart. We have kriyas that are for grounding, for healing grief. I mean, there's tons of different practices that you'll learn through this training. But I thought this one's nice because it just like clears energy, and it makes you feel euphoric. And if you can touch that feeling, and this is one thing that I learned through the yoga practice. And also I learned this even earlier in my life when I did a lot of plant medicine in terms of like psychedelics. And if you can experience a feeling within your body, in your chemistry of your physical being, if you can feel something at least once, you can find your way back to that feeling at will. And the important thing about that is that, if we're ever in a hard place and we feel like, we'll say like really bad, that, you want to be able to get yourself to a good feeling place as fast as possible, and so these practices can help with that. It's a self-regulating mechanism. We also call it self-care. Yoga is a form of self-care where we are literally learning how to heal ourselves, heal other people, and love ourselves in a deeper, more powerful way, I'll say. So there's different ways of looking at it, but that's really kind of the way I see it. And that's why I've been so dedicated to teaching for the past 18 years. And the really interesting thing is when I went to my first yoga teacher training, I actually didn't intend to become a teacher. I went because I needed so much healing for myself. I had gone through a year of depression. I was lost. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I had no purpose. I was working a 9-to-5 job. I didn't feel happy there at all. I was very depressed, and I was seeking solutions, but I didn't even know what I was seeking. At the time, it was just hard to get out of bed most of the time. And like plodding through this like job situation that I had, that it was paying me well and I was really good at it, but it wasn't feeding my soul. And I was feeling like it was actually killing my soul. And so if you've ever felt that experience where you know that there's something more for you, and or that you're not in alignment with what you're meant to be doing, we'll say, then it's important to see that there's always a way out of that. In fact, when we go through those experiences, which I'll call it like rock bottom, which I've had rock bottom experiences, I would say like 3 different times. But that was the one when I was 24 and I went through a breakup with my boyfriend. I moved out of the home that we bought together. I quit the job that was, my stability, and a number of things that happened that was just this life-changing shift. And it was all because inside of me, I felt like I was dying from the life that I was living, even though on the outside it looked like could be like the perfect American dream, right? We had purchased a home on a golf course in Boca Raton. I was 24, I had a good paying job, I had a beautiful boyfriend. I had a number of good things going for me. I was actually in really good shape. I used to be a bikini model, but it was like I felt empty. And when we feel that, it doesn't matter what's externally in our life. I mean, and my boyfriend would even say, Dashama, focus on the things that you're grateful for. And I would try and I would write them down. I'm grateful for, but I could not feel anything. So it didn't help. Like writing something down when you don't feel it is just wasting time, honestly. It doesn't actually translate to helping make you feel better, right? So you have to be able to create a shift in how you feel. And that's what I love about yoga, is that it has the power to do that for us very rapidly. It has the power to do that immediately, and we can do that at will. And when I say at will, what that means is it's always there for you. Like it's a kind of a best friend, like a BFF medicine cabinet that you can reach in there, get what you need, and make it a daily practice. And one thing that I learned after my first yoga teacher training, I remember I went in there all depressed, and it was funny because I remember one day I had Googled inner peace, and that's how I found my first yoga teacher training. The words inner peace pulled up this yoga teacher training, and I ended up signing up because I was like, I always thought to myself, yoga is the one thing that brings me the greatest peace. Like I felt good there. Even if it made me cry in Shavasana, I still felt more alive when I was in yoga than when I was doing anything else. So I was like, okay, there's something to this yoga stuff. And I didn't know exactly why it worked, but it did. And so that's why when I saw the yoga teacher training, I signed up immediately. I committed. It was actually a 10-week training. I had to drive an hour every single day, both ways, 2 hours. And I had to get up at 4:45 every day and do this training. And I was so glad that I did it because after just a few weeks, I literally felt like a brand new person. My heart burst open. I started feeling joy in my life again. And I remember there was a time, I think it was around week 7, where I was walking on the beach one day. It was a very cloudy, overcast day. It was like the sky was white and the ocean looked white and the sand was white. I was in Florida and where I lived at the time. And everything was white. And I could just hear this resounding sound of Om in my mind, and that was the only thing in my mind, and it felt like it lasted for hours. And it was the first time, perhaps my whole life, that I experienced true resounding feeling of like inner peace that lasted for that long. And I felt that was when I truly knew and understood what yoga really was all about, because before that I always just saw it more or less as a sort of a fitness routine a little bit, like it was like a yoga, but it was also like my workout, so I was looking at it like it was a workout, which is fine actually, like it's a workout too, but it was kind of before that, it was a little bit just a part of my workout circuit. I do like kickboxing twice a week, yoga twice a week, and I had this kind of like relationship to yoga like that. And then after this experience, it changed me on such a fundamental, profound level that it was like from there, I knew that yoga wasn't just a workout and that it was this profound healing medicine. And I remember after I graduated from that training, I actually like started just like teaching yoga. I didn't even intend to be a yoga teacher. I went only for my own healing. And it was so healing for me. I used to cry in Shavasana every single day. And I was happy to cry because I needed to. I felt I needed to get this out of me. I was, like grieving from so many things. And it was interesting. So after like a year of being a yoga teacher, I was just teaching everyone. I just wanted to teach. I just love to teach. Like if you are doing a yoga teacher training and you graduate, there's only 2 directions you end up going. One is that you just love teaching and you just start teaching, and you will, you'll even maybe teach if you're not getting paid, because that's the best way to learn to be a good teacher, is to just practice teaching. Teach your sister, teach your spouse, teach your friends, teach your community. Offer a free class in the beginning until you get good at teaching. Right. So you have to pay the dues in the beginning. It's not just like you graduate and you're just like all of a sudden this like 6-figure earning yoga coach. You could. I'm not saying that's not possible. In fact, I think it is very possible if you're very good at learning and you build the proficiency very quickly during the training. And if you're very savvy at the business side, because there is a lot of ways that you can become very rapidly successful. But I just want to like make it more realistic for everybody so that you kind of understand that yoga is such a it's such a personal, spiritual, life-changing journey. But it's also, to be a good yoga teacher requires you to become fluent in the language of how to teach. And that not everybody gets the first day, and not everybody gets even after the 12 weeks and then they graduate. It's a practice that you keep teaching and you get better and better. It's like if you're learning Spanish and you want, or like a language, and then, in order to become fluent, you have to speak that language. You have to find people to talk to, and you have to talk to them and do it every day. And then they say you become fluent in something when you start dreaming about it. So like if you dream in the new language, then you know you have learned it fluently. Same thing with yoga. So like, not to say you're gonna have dreams about yoga, but like that you start to really embody yoga as a energy in your life, and like that mindfulness component, which is to look at life through the lens of, like, every single day looking at life through the lens that, like, knowing that we are spiritual. Same thing with yoga. Sorry. So like, oh, that's what just popped up. That we come to this lens of knowing that we are interconnected with everything. So whatever's showing up in your reality, in our reality, in your life, whatever is in front of you is spirit or God or the universe showing you what you need to see. And if it's beautiful, then great. And if it's not, then also this is great, because we have to see the truth. And the commitment of a yogi in this sense is not to always be happy, but it's to be in truth and aspire to be in the best vibration you can be, knowing that you are an extension of God. You are an extension of the creator of the universe. The existence itself is breathing through you. And as you know that and live from that place, then the decisions that we make are different sometimes. So it's like the decisions we make are, okay, is this good for the whole? Is this good for everyone? Or is it just good for me? Because traditionally humans are more like self-focused, right? It's like, okay, is this good for me? Like, and then like first, check in with yourself. Of course, you want to see if something is good for you, but also considering the others involved, and then always having this kind of like perspective with life that the interconnectedness of everything it never goes away. So in the yoga tradition, we also have the philosophy of the universal laws of consciousness. So one of them is the law of karma. And we'll talk more about some of these as we go through the training. The law of karma is very interesting because I think a lot of people have heard of it and understand it on some level. But the law of karma is really just like, they say, what you reap, you sow. Now, it's interesting because, we could apply this to different circumstances and say, is it really true? So, for example, the baby in, we'll say, the Middle East right now that got killed, what did that baby do, right? Kind of thing. So there's like ways of like kind of questioning these universal laws as they are playing themselves out in our physical reality in this now. So I think the way to go understanding that is to go a little wider lens and to see that there is actually no thing such as time. We have created the construct of time. So if we think, okay, it's 2023 and we have this going on the planet, it is happening. And this is actually happening. But there is like this kind of time-space continuum of evolution that's like thousands of years, millions of years past, millions of years future. So if we zoom out, we call it eagle vision. We even have a yoga pose for this. This one, when you wind your arms around like this and you put your hands like this is eagle pose. This is the arm position for that. And then you stand on one leg and you wind your legs around like that too. And then you're kind of like all twisted. But mainly you can see that the hands are in front of your face. The reason we call this eagle pose is because eagles see the side view. So they are actually, their eyes are on their side of their head. So when they're flying, they call it eagle vision, see far and wide. Instead of just tunnel vision, what is in front of you, far and wide. So it's to be able to see the big picture and to be able to see how, even if something's really hard in your life or in the world, that on some grand scheme, this is what is needed in your life or in the world with humanity or what have you at this time on earth. And it's hard to process that because so often you're like, how could we need suffering? But it's interesting. So we live in a world where it's duality based. So duality is where you learn through contrast. So if you learn through contrast, we'll say, like, if there was no dark, there would be no light. You wouldn't be able to see light if there was only light, because it would just be light. So there's like a need for the contrast in order for us to see anything. Right? If all beings were just in peace and goodness, we wouldn't even know what peace and goodness were, because there would be no contrast to understand what the opposite of that is. So this is how, in this 3D world of physical reality, that we are learning through what we call contrast. So the darkness shows us light. The evil, we'll call it, shows us what is goodness. And also that we can choose which side of that we want to be on, right? And so as we see like the contrast between evil and good, it pushes humanity, the ones that are awake, the conscious beings, to want to be more on the side of the good. And what does that mean? Compassion, love, empathy, kindness, generosity, caring, like actually showing up and being of service to helping those in need. This is the being on the side of the good, right? So if you want to think this duality. And then there's like a reality beyond duality, which exists in the universe, which is what we would call God consciousness, or like the universal oneness of it all. And in that realm of consciousness, there is no duality. There is no like black, white. It's no right, wrong in that, because it's just everything is. Everything is just is. And God does not judge like that, like, oh, bad people, good people. Although the way that the universe works, it's like if you sort of what they say, what you sow, you will reap. So if you're putting out bad apples, you're going to get back some bad apples, right? Or like, if you're putting out good apples, you're going to see good things coming back. And you can see this in your own life. Now, what I learned though is that with ancestral carryover, we'll call it ancestral trauma, or like whatever, the people in our ancestry, what happened with them carries forward into our life in this now. So this is why we have to also work within ourselves to heal our ancestry, to heal the trauma of our ancestors through ourselves. So it's actually a beautiful service to practice yoga, because you're not only healing yourself, you're healing your ancestors, you're healing the generations that aren't even born yet by doing this work. So when you heal yourself, you'll heal, they say, 7 generations back and 7 generations forward. And I'll tell you why that is. And it's an interesting concept, is that, think about this. If you, let's say you're a child born to a traumatized, like me, I'll give you my story. I mean, my mother was very traumatized. Her mother had her when she was 14, and her father was in the military in World War II. She was adopted, and her dad died in front of her when she was 12. When he was getting the Christmas tree, he died, had a heart attack in front of her. And she was so sad, so grief-stricken, that she ended up getting into drinking and drugs on such a big problematic level. It really ended up ending her life. And I'll talk about that another time. But basically, at a young age 12, her dad died in front of her. That grief, that trauma affected the rest of her life. And what happened was, it passed it on to me, right? And so when I had all this trauma that was passed forward to me, and she ended up losing her mind because she was addicted to drugs and alcohol. So at 7 years old, I was taken away, and I was sent to live in a foster care, like strangers' homes, and I was separated from my family, and it was very traumatic for me. So I had a very early traumatic life. But when I look at it, if you had something similar, or maybe you didn't, or maybe you know somebody who did, but it's not about the specifics of that story, but knowing that the reason that came forward into my life was because of the ancestry. My mother, her father, or her parents, her mother had her at 14. So the ancestry behind passes forward. And so as we heal ourselves, we stop those cycles. And to learn to do this and to help others to heal this, we stop the cycle of suffering for humanity. And that's such a blessing. Like, we are literally doing the work of angels on earth. Like, if you think about it, like how else do we stop the cycles of suffering, right? This is one of the most important work that needs to be done on earth right now. And so if you're in this training, I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up and being an angel on earth and being called to be of service in this way. It's not an easy path because, you're really working with people in some of their more difficult things. It's not just like, hey, I'm going to show you how to make your hair look good. It's a very deep, powerful, meaningful, impactful, loving journey that you go through to become a teacher, and then also that you help others to go through as you help them to heal. And I've been on this journey as a teacher, 18 years as a coach, and it's really rewarding. That's why I stay in it, because I'm like, okay, what else would I want to do? I mean, there's lots of beautiful things you can do with it, so it's not limited to any one thing. When I started as a teacher, I remember I would do so many things. Like I was teaching at the hospital. I did a whole program for the employees at the hospital and the patients and the families. I was teaching at the school and the private schools. I was teaching kids yoga. I was teaching corporations. Then I had private clients. So there's lots of ways that you can like find where you feel the most at home as a teacher, as a healer. But also working with private clients was one of my favorite ways to do it. And it was really, really rewarding because when you work with someone one-on-one, more in depth like that, for example, for twice a week, some of my clients would do 2 or 3 times a week for several years. So we got to go deep with their healing, and you become like their friend, but also their coach and their healer. And it's really beautiful because you can go down a deep journey with someone. Healing is not something that happens overnight, and it's not linear. And why I say linear is that a lot of people imagine that you go, okay, I'm starting my healing journey today, and then by December or something, like, by next month, I'm going to be healed or whatever, that all the grief will be gone, all my traumas will be healed. It doesn't necessarily happen that way. I've actually never known anybody that had that experience in 18 years, but you can have profound breakthroughs all the time, every day. Profound breakthroughs. And what a breakthrough is where you have the realization of what the core of the pain of whatever the situation that's going on is coming from, and healing that core is where you heal the entire strand of that, and then it doesn't come back anymore. Now that's true lasting healing. And so that's what we're aiming for. In the beginning, though, you just got to get going on it. It's kind of like, you can't scale Mount Everest in one moment, right? You have to do it. It takes weeks to train for that. So that's really this, like you're going on like a journey of deep, powerful exploration of your own soul, your consciousness, your inner child, your ancestry, your family, your purpose of life. All of that is connected to this dharma, to this life purpose of being of service as a yoga teacher, as a flow state teacher, as a healer, as a coach. It's so beautiful. So many people, they have a job and they just show up for this job, and maybe the job payment pays well, like mine did when I was 24. I was getting paid really well. But if it doesn't feel like it's nourishing your soul, that's when you have to do something else. And what usually happens is your soul will guide you to the path of your purpose. And usually, so oftentimes, our pain, it leads us to our purpose. Because actually, one of the things that I learned from my journey of 18 years of this path is learning that everything happens for a reason. So if you had some kind of traumatic experience, or your family dynamic had some kind of situation that was recurring, or ancestral carryover of trauma, different things that have happened, can be also, some people call it genetic, right? They're like, oh, we have a genetic predisposition to this type of cancer or this type of thing. If it's genetic, it's ancestral. What it means is it's passed down, right? So that's ancestral. We can call it genetic. But the nice thing is, in epigenetics, which is also something that we'll talk about through this training, in the field of epigenetics, we're able to reprogram our cellular memory. And so you can actually defy what science used to lead us to believe, that we had no choice, right? Like if your grandfather and your parents both had some kind of illness or some problem, that you were just kind of like doomed and that you would have to deal with that for yourself. But the truth is, it's not the case. And people like Dr. Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton, there's a number of people that have written and done a lot of work around the field of epigenetics, and how when we learn to, especially through meditation and through breath work, the power of the mind and the breath combining has the power to reprogram our cells. And the cells carry the information about how long we're going to live, about how healthy we are, our predisposition to illness or wellness, and all of that. So what we're doing, and that's why it's also called like biohacking, we're hacking the biology system within your body with these practices that you're going to be doing through the whole training, and that you're learning, and actually just by doing it, you don't even have to know how it works. Although I will share a bit more about how it works, because that's kind of a fun part of it. But you don't really have to know how it works. What really matters is that it works, and that you feel that it works, that you feel that it's working. Because so often people say, oh, do this thing, and then you do it, but it's like, how do you know it's working? The only way to know if something's working is actually if you feel it. And so that's the interesting thing that I love about yoga, is that you always feel it. You feel something right away. And the reason is because it's what we call somatic healing. Somatic healing is when we're healing through the physical body. So the mind, body, spirit, integrated connection, we heal faster, right? So if you just try to do it through the mind, like a traditional therapy is like talk therapy. So a lot of people they go to a therapist, they talk about their problem. But most of the time that doesn't help, because it's just like talk, talk, talk. In fact, and I know I'm talking a lot right now, but that's because today is a like sort of introduction, and I wanted to give you like kind of the ground, the like foundation of understanding. But we're going to do some practices, so stay on, and I'm excited to share these with you. But what I'm saying is that when we just talk about something, like if you have a problem or you're facing a challenge or you have some kind of pain in your life, and you just talk about it and you just keep talking about it, it doesn't get better. In fact, it gets worse. And a lot of people feel that everything heals with time, and that's not true. Things do not heal with time. In fact, time makes it worse, and I'll tell you why. Unless you catch it and you actively do what you need to do to heal it. But the reason that time can make pain worse instead of better is because if something happens in your life, you experience it one time, but you might replay that memory and feel it in your body 1,000,000 times in your lifetime. So it could have happened as a kid, it could have happened whenever, but if you replay that memory and talk about it as well, and just keep reliving it, in your like in the brain, the way the brain works is that we have these neural networks, which is like the neurons in the brain fire together and they create what we call a neural network, which is where the information travels from one side to the other side. And so when you do something repeatedly, it creates this firing and wiring together action. And so they say it takes about 30 to 60 days to create a new habit. And that new habit is a new neural network. It means, okay, let's say you want to make a habit of meditation every day. So if you do it every day for 30 to 60 days, your brain starts to create a network and fire together and wire together until now it's who you are. This new identity. I am a meditator. I meditate every day. It's like you brush your teeth. Like you've done that for so long that it's who you are. Hopefully. I hope that you do. I mean, everyone should. And also you should floss. And I'll talk about that another time. But anyway, it's crazy how many people don't floss, because flossing is brushing in between. But anyway, so the importance of all these hygiene things is critical, because you're what they call actually the oral systemic connection. A lot of sickness and disease is created from the mouth. So people don't know that. They don't floss, then they get infections, and then the infection goes to the brain or to the glands, to the thyroid, to the breasts. Like this whole region can get infection, and that can lead to a lot of sickness just from not flossing, just from not brushing properly. oral hygiene. So in Ayurveda, which is a part of our program, we teach about that. And we teach also about coconut oil swishing, which helps to kill bad bacteria and stuff. Anyway, there's all these little practices that you can do to prevent sickness and disease. But when it comes to creating the habits, if you do something every day for 30 to 60 days, you will create a new neural network. And these brain firings are going to become a habit. So then all of a sudden, it's just who you are. Now you practice yoga every day. Now you meditate every day. Now you teach yoga. Now that's who you are. But at this moment, if you're not that person yet, you have to do this thing repeatedly every day, and they start to create this new identity. And the identity is formed in the neural networks of the brain as they do these habits, these rituals, the practices every single day, and creating this new neural network. And it works the opposite too. So if you replay a trauma and you think about it or talk about it every day or very often, and you feel it over and over, this is what happened to me. I know this because I experienced this. I had some very deep traumas as a young person when my mother lost her mind and we got taken away from her. And I had this memory of that in my mind my whole life. And I would replay it and I would feel this horrible feeling of like getting ripped out of my mother's arms and screaming and crying. And this feeling of like, it was very, very, I can't even describe. I mean, the trauma of that affected me my whole life. And as I learned about this, that like the fact that my mind wanted to go and remember it and like relive through my physiology, the feeling of that, it led me to like a lot of suffering. And so what I ended up doing was looking at it like, okay, well, how do I stop reliving this? And one of the things that helped me the most was actually this meditation that I learned from a woman named Teal Swan in her book called The Completion Process, which I would like to encourage anybody if you want to read it. It's a good book. And she talks about what happened to her. Like she was abducted as a child and held as like I hate to say it, but like a prisoner kind of in like a hole in the ground and sexually abused for years. So she had this like really crazy trauma. I mean, mine was deep, but hers, I think, could have been, I don't know. I don't want to compare it. But anyway, she wrote a book about it and how she healed that. And one of the things about how she healed that was that it's called the completion process. So in the meditation, you go in and you see like you're talking to your parents and you're talking to them on the level of the soul. And you're having this like enlightened conversation where you're like, okay, they're telling you you're the child, they're the parents in this soul conversation, and they're saying, we're going to have to abandon you, you're going to have to be ripped out of our arms and go through this really difficult time, but this is for the best of all because you're going to learn all these lessons and it's going to be like actually this like for your best interest of the growth of your soul. And so having those conversations in a meditation on a soul level with your parents or with your ancestors or whatever happened, and you start to see that it was planned, we'll call it, like it was planned in a way that it was for your greatest good, to that it was a choice that you all made to have that experience, whatever it was, because on a soul level, that was the agreement coming into this life so that you could grow to become the strong, powerful, resilient soul you were destined to grow into. So to see it from that lens and then wrapping it with healing at the end. So the end of it is like hugging them and like thanking them and being grateful and saying, okay, I am strong. I'm ready for this challenge. And like knowing that it's part of the journey of this life is that you have to face some challenges, you have to face some difficulties, and this one specific storyline of what went on with you or anybody, right, it was necessary, and that it was actually chosen by the parties, the parents and the kid. It was all like predetermined before even taking birth in this life. Now, I don't know if you believe all that, but I really believe that, and it helped me tremendously. And I want to just mention anything that you learn here, you can take it with, a grain of salt in the sense that if it doesn't seem resonant to you, then it's okay. Like take what feels right to you. and always know that evolution will reveal to you what is right for you. So if you're like, oh, I don't believe that I pre-chose these situations, well, if it doesn't bring you more peace to have that feeling and that belief, then you can choose another perspective. But for me, that helped me a lot. But at the time, I was like, why? Like I kept asking God, like, why did I have to suffer like that? Like, why did I have to lose my family? Why did I have to go through all of this, right? And if you ask the question why, it doesn't actually get you anywhere. It doesn't help in the sense that even if you know why, like, okay, so finally that question why led me to that meditation. And then I could see the why, and I could see the value of it, the benefit of it for humanity. Because of that deep trauma, because of that, I had to go through a lot of other things that led me to become a trauma healing specialist and to heal millions of people and to help millions of people heal their trauma. So I was like, okay, so God and my soul, like we had an agreement that it was like, okay, you're going to go through this. So you're going to come back to earth to help others. And so this is how we evolve as a human species, is that we go through challenges, then we come back and we help others through challenges similar to what we've been through. So that's why I say your pain often leads you to your purpose, because your unique situation is unique to you. So if you had something different, right, whatever your situation was, you can kind of see, okay, so I can help people through that. Like, for example, I know so many people, they specialize in weight loss after they lose a lot of weight. So like, let's say you were the type of person that like gained a lot of weight and you went through the suffering of what that felt like. And I have one of my uncles, he had gained a lot of weight. He was like 350 pounds at one point. He was so heavy, but he needed a knee replacement. He needed to replace both knees. He could hardly walk, but they wouldn't even replace his knees until he lost at least 150 pounds, because they were like, it wouldn't actually help, because if you replace your knees and you are 350 pounds, you will just destroy the new knee and it's a waste. So you have to like literally he had to lose at least 150 pounds in order to qualify for the surgery. So he had to go on a journey. I remember he was really battling that for a long time. He tried a lot of things. I remember they were doing, at the time, this was like 20 years ago, they did like Atkins diet. That was where they're like, you can eat all the bacon you want. But really what it was like keto diet. Keto diet is where you limit the sugar and you limit the starch and the carbs. And so your body can go into ketosis. And in ketosis, your body burns more fat. So your body burns more fat. So it starts like basically turning into a little bit of an incinerator, which is a positive thing when you're trying to lose weight. You need to burn more fat. So anyway, he did that. It did help him, but then he gained all the weight back because he's eating bacon all day, every day. So anyway, eventually he ended up doing the vegan diet and it helped him tremendously. He did end up losing the weight and he did end up getting the knee surgery, and it's stuck ever since. So you got to like kind of do what works for you. A lot of people try different things, but most important is that what I'm getting at is that if you've been through something specific, generally, then you can help other people through that. Like I see someone like Jillian Michaels, who I've worked with extensively. She was on that show, The Biggest Loser, and then she ended up having her own show eventually. But basically, she was on The Biggest Loser, and she would help people to lose weight. But the reason she was so good at this job, and she still is to this day, she's wonderful at that, because she had lost a lot of weight. So she, I think, had lost like 100 pounds. And she had these pictures of her when she was so overweight, 200 pounds or whatever. And then she lost like 100 pounds. And then she learned the pain of what it's like to have that much excess weight, physically, emotionally, mentally. And then also she learned what it takes to lose it. And then what it takes to keep it off. So like, for example, anything that you go through in life, you can look at that and say, I can help others through this. Even if you're not fully through it, you can still help them at whatever stage they're at. Even if you're only 3 steps ahead, you can still help people. So I always want to encourage and like emphasize that you don't have to be fully healed, we'll say, or enlightened in order to be able to help people where they're at. And that actually if you wait till you're ready, you'll basically never be ready. So that's the important thing that I always want to encourage, because so many times I think people have this feeling like, oh, I'm not enlightened yet, so how can I, really help people? And it's not about that. Literally, there's so few people on earth that are fully enlightened. It's probably like, I mean, some people say it's like a couple hundred, but I would say like maybe less than 10 that I personally know that are like 100% fully enlightened. So it's not about necessarily becoming fully enlightened in this life, but it's about becoming an awakened, conscious being and practicing mindfulness every moment. And these practices in yoga, the breath work, meditation, mantra, all of the things, even the EFT, the trauma healing practices, and the yoga movement, the vinyasa and the kundalini kriyas, all of these things, what they do, and the really cool thing about it is that you don't even have to know how it works, but it just works on a physiological, psychological, and emotional level. Because in the yoga biology, like if you see in the book Journey to Joyful, my book that I wrote 14 years ago, I wrote that book. But in the book, you can see the koshas. So we have what we call koshas, which is like the layers of your physical body. So you have your physical layer, and then you have another layer, that's your emotional layer, and then you have your mental layer, and then you have your energetic layer, and then you have your bliss layer. So you have 5 koshas. And if you understand that, you realize if you're having a disturbance in one of the koshas, whether it's your mind, the mental, the physical, emotional, energy, or, what it does is it blocks the flow from being able to access that 5th layer, which is your bliss. They call it Anandamaya Kosha. Anandamaya Kosha is the bliss sheath. That on the outside of your energy field, there is actually always a field of bliss awaiting and available to all of us, that it's always there. It's like a part of the energy field. But if you are stuck in the mind or stuck in an emotional thing or having an energy problem, whatever, or even a physical pain, that those are messages from the soul that we need to work on those aspects of our health and our wellness so that we can clear those blocks and that we can be a clear vessel, and that energy field you can just touch that bliss sheath and then it'll be truly that you'll just be feeling blissful. And that, so when we do all of these practices, what you're doing is you're clearing, you're clearing the energy. And then whatever comes up, whether it's maybe a thought, a memory, an awareness of what needs to be looked at, whatever comes up, that's where your work is, right? So that's the path of mindfulness. It's like, okay, I just witness, I do my practices, I witness what comes up, journal. I always encourage journaling. And then when you see what's coming up for you, that's when you know what you need to work on right now. So let's say it's something with a relationship dynamic, or maybe it's something with prosperity dynamic. Maybe it's with your family. Maybe it's your physical health. Maybe it's your emotional well-being. Maybe whatever. So it could be any of these layers, right? That like whatever is coming up has to become the priority. And that's what we call SLAY, self-love and yoga. SLAY is the acronym for that part of this training. Is SLAY, SLAY is self-love and yoga, where you make that priority to practice and to focus on your wellness, focus on your health and well-being and your healing as a service to your family, your friends, your community, a service to humanity, and a service to yourself, truly. And so it is a service that we do this. And so even though some people say, oh, like I feel selfish, I'm just focusing on myself. No, actually it's paramount. It's critical. It's actually like a priority. And this is something I always talk to my students over the years, that, healers have a tend to, because women who are empathic, we can feel, not even just women, men too, anybody who's empathic, you can feel what other people feel. So you have this feeling energy. So I don't know if anybody here feels like that you're empathic, but if you're an empathic person, you probably feel what other people are feeling. And if you feel that what other people are feeling, what you'll notice is that you feel like you're taking on other people's stuff. Right? So if like someone's like going through a hard time and then you're like, oh my God, like I love you, I want to help you. But then like you leave feeling bad, that didn't serve you. And so you have to have practices that clear your energy and also that create a shield or a boundary around your energy so that you don't take on everybody's stuff. Because even if it's your kids, it's your spouse, it's your friends, your family, your coworkers, whatever's going on, if you're taking on other people's baggage, their emotions, maybe they dump everything on you, they tell you all the bad stuff that's going on, and then you just feel worse after that. We call that like an energy vampire, unless they are like, ultimately, if it's your kids, it's our responsibility to teach them how to not do that, right? But if it's like someone in your life and they do that, then we have to create better boundaries by saying, I love you so much, but like maybe you could say it in a way like, I'm working on my boundaries and it's hard for me to take on this intense emotional storyline that you're sharing. So, and then help them through it, but then don't take it on. Communicate those boundaries so that you feel seen and heard and safe, that you are not, responsible for anybody else's stuff. But if they're your client, and this is where it gets a little gray, that if they're your client and you're feeling emotion, if you're taking on their stuff, you have to take time to clear your own energy field. And that's where these practices really come into play. So we're going to do the practice together. I don't know what happened with my Zoom. I'm still not able to see anybody else in this group, although it was originally I could see everything, and then now this whole time I haven't been able to. But anyway, hopefully nobody's asking any questions, because typically I allow for questions, but because I can't somehow see the others in this chat, I'm not able to bring you on. But if you want to unmute yourself and ask anything, that's something that I'm open to. So at any point, you could also post in the chat. Maybe I could see that somehow. But if you're in the group and you have any questions, unmute yourself, ask the question. I'm happy to answer anything at any point. So we're going to take a moment, and I'm going to teach you something special, because this is actually something we're getting ready to launch. This is part of the BFF gift club, which I'm so excited about. This is something that I wanted to do for a long time. I'll show you. This is the box. It has the flower of life all over it, which is, this symbol represents the interconnection of everything. And then here's the box. So you can see it says BFF gift club, and you get it in the mail. It's biodegradable box, all eco-friendly packaging. And in there is a very exciting special gift. And we have these available at brightfuture.org as our way of bringing wellness into our community in a fun and beautiful gifting concept. BFF stands for Bright Future Foundation, but it's also like you can get these for your besties. And these are these bracelets. So I'm going to show you how you can meditate with bracelets. Traditionally in yoga, we actually do a lot of, it's similar, but it's like with a mala necklace. So it has 108 beads on a mala necklace. But I noticed over the years, most people do not actually use mala beads because there's 108. So it feels like very, let's say, like overwhelming to do 108. Even it's really only like 8 to 10 minutes, but it's like, it feels like a lot. So most people never actually use those beads. So we developed an easier one. This is only 20 beads, and it's a bracelet made out of crystals. So this one is made out of lapis. Each crystal represents a different energy. So lapis represents power and prosperity. This was a stone that they used in ancient Egypt with the pharaohs, and you can see it in their ancient things that they had. This is a one that's made out of amethyst. So amethyst is a different energy. It's a purple, and it's a crown chakra. So it connects you to your divine self and clearing any negative energies. And then this is the clear quartz one, which is also a crown chakra. This is to connect you to source energy and to the angelic realm and clearing energy. And then this one is tiger's eye. So tiger's eye is a gold and brown color, and it connects. It's more root. It's more sensuality and sexuality. So this one goes with our special box that is for aphrodisiac chocolate. So anyway, each one has a box with a theme. Hi, Jennifer. How you doing? Did you have a question? Happy to answer that. I see somebody over here on YouTube. So if anybody is in the Zoom and wants to join on YouTube, that's another way that you could ask a question if you're not able to ask it in this, because I don't know why. It's the first time in my life that I ever had Zoom where it wasn't able to bring people on as guests. So I don't know why that's happening today, but we'll see. So anyway, so we're going to do a meditation with one of these. So basically we have the bracelet, and then this is how it works. We're going to do this clearing meditation. And this is something you could do once a day, twice a day, 3 times. Think of it as like if you're going to have a glass of water, right? You bring in hydration because it's important. It's good for you. So the same thing with this. This is somewhat like a nourishment for your mind. It's a clearing your mind, but it's clearing your energy field. So we're going to do this really beautiful breathing that is like an inhale through the nose, and you can exhale out of the mouth or out of the nose. So you'll notice if you exhale out of the nose, it's very grounding. And if you exhale out of the mouth, it's really clearing. So you got to see, like, what do you feel? You need more grounding or you feel more clearing? So I'm going to demonstrate. So here's the first bead. You hold it like this. I just put it between my thumb and my index like that. First bead, inhale deeply. And as you exhale out of the nose, long, stretch it out, long, deep exhale. And then I'll show you with exhale out of the mouth. Inhale. I like to hold the breath on the inhale, hold it, and then exhale. Notice the difference. Inhale the nose. We're on number 3 now. Exhale. Now number 4. We'll do the mouth again. Inhale. Hold it. Exhale. Yoga, we also have another thing we call lion's breath. The lion's breath is where you exhale and you stick out your tongue. So it's like this. This is number 5. You can even make a sound with it, like that's why we call it lion's breath. We teach this to children as well. It's a way to expel excess stress or energy. Number 6, inhale. Hold the breath. I like to exhale with open mouth. It feels like really relieving. Inhale. 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 You don't have to hold the breath that long, but if you hold it just for a moment or two, you really feel the difference. Inhale. 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 Last one. Inhale. Now, this last one, we're going to inhale, hold the breath for 30 seconds. Inhale. Exhale. And just touch the sensation whenever you feel. Hopefully you did that with us. I like to do this one too at the end. It's called the buzzing breath. So nice deep breath. And then with the mouth closed. You can also do the buzzing breath by putting the tongue on the roof of the mouth and engaging Mula Bandha. So Mula Bandha is like if you have to go pee, you pull it in and up, the muscle. It's like that. We'll do that together. Inhale. Focus the awareness on the crown of your head. This is a way to raise the energy up. So there's different ways that we can direct the energy. But if you feel it, if you did that, let me know in the comments. Feel free to share how it felt for you. One thing I love about breathwork, and especially with the bracelet thing, is that it just keeps you into this amazing energy. So if you ever feel stress or, just like erratic, chaotic, whatever is going on in your life, stop, do 20 breaths with the bracelet. I like the bracelet because you can count. Then you don't have to think about it. You're not like counting in your mind, it's too complicated. And then it frees up your mind to be present, but it also frees up your mind to do an affirmation. And so another thing that we can do with the bracelet is you do an affirmation for each bead. I like to encourage one affirmation like as your main theme for that practice. So let's say your affirmation is, I am peace, I am love, I am joyful, I am grateful. My favorite affirmation is I am grateful. It's the most important affirmation because it's the energy of whatever is happening is great. Like that I acknowledge that it's for my highest good in some way and it's teaching me something. So even if it's something great or if it's something not so great, that we can be grateful for it. And then the gratitude of it, it actually creates space for us to let it go if it's not in alignment, or improve upon it if it's maybe not in the best situation, and or opening the realm of possibilities for a solution to come through. And that's one of the things I love so much about meditation, is it gives you this access to your higher self, to God, and to the infinite intelligence of the universe, to be able to access that intelligence and draw it into this present moment to give you solutions for whatever it is that you're facing in life. And so that's really one of the infinite benefits of meditation. You'll hear me talk a lot about the power and the benefits of meditation. I always want to encourage, because yoga, meditation, and breathwork, they are all under the field of yoga. Some people say they're all under the field of consciousness. Some people would say they're under the field of Ayurveda even, but I say they're under the field of yoga. So the path of yoga incorporates 8 different things. So the first, you'll see this in the book Journey to Joyful. So the first limb, they call it, the first limb is asana. That's a physical practice. The second limb is pranayama. That's the breath work. And the third limb, so you'll see as you go through the limbs, it's like each one, it's not one more important than the other. So it's not like a hierarchy, right? But it's more like knowing that these different aspects of the practice of the path of yoga are all integral to the experience of having like enlightenment in your life, whatever you want to call it. Like, it doesn't have to be enlightenment, but just a feeling of like that you're becoming more awake, more enlightened, more mindful of life, and that in that observation of life, through just focusing on the breath, through just doing postures, through yoga practices, through breathing with movement, through somatic healing, through the EFT practices that clear your emotional body, through the mind, through the affirmations, through the kriyas, the mantras, all of this, that it is designed to clear you so that you can just be present in every moment. And so that the chaos of life doesn't throw us off. Instead, we are the eye of the storm. I lived in Florida for most of my life, and I've been in several hurricanes. And a hurricane's interesting because it has this huge bands of wind going in a circle. And then in the middle of that is the most calm place on earth. They call it the eye of the storm. So whenever I think of the chaos of life, whether it's wars or conflict or challenges that we face, this is the bands of the hurricane, right? It's like swirling around. And if we get caught in the bands of the storm, we get thrown around, thrashed around. That's when we suffer. But if we can learn and train ourselves and condition ourselves to be in the center of the storm, to be the center of the storm, not just to be in it, but actually to become the eye of the storm, so that anything that happens around us, it doesn't throw us off so dramatically that we're shaken to the core and hitting rock bottom and I've been there. So it's like, that's how I know that we don't want to go there. We want to instead be the eye of the storm and witness the bands as they go around. And then through our practices of yoga, meditation, and breathwork, and all of these practices, to ask our highest self, our source of life, God consciousness, to give us the insights and the wisdom and the solutions for whatever it is that's this bands that are flying around, and so that we can be guided every step of the way. So this is how we access divine guidance and connect to our highest self and live in a flow. So that's why I call this Flow State Institute, because it's really like to be able to connect to that intelligence of the universe in that way, then it's guiding us every step of the way. And it's interesting because a lot of times there's a saying that says that rejection is God's redirection. And I always think about that. Now, the word rejection can be replaced with different things. So like, let's say something doesn't work. So something's not working out. You could call that rejection. You could call it failure. You could call it, a challenge. You could call it sort of like whatever you want to call that. But basically, let's say you're trying to do something, it's not working. It's usually God's redirection, right? And so some people will call that rejection. It's not always rejection, but it's literally like, this thing is not working, whether it's a relationship or a career situation or whatever the thing. If it's not working, there's a reason for that. And it's because if you think about, we're like on a river going through life, and let's say a big boulder is in the front of us and we're in a boat, if we try to go straight, we hit that boulder, right? So instead, the redirection is go around that. There's a better path, the path of least resistance, the path of grace, the path of flow. And that's the philosophy of the Flow State Institute. And it comes from the philosophy of Taoism and the Zen tradition of the Eastern philosophy, which I love. The philosophy of Taoism. Taoism believes that, like, in the nothingness, everything exists. So this feeling of empty space. And this is so important because actually in astrophysics, in the universe, the actual physical universe that we have floating around us, we're this little tiny ball of a planet, Earth, which is tiny, tiny compared to the massive magnitude of the universe, the multiverse, the existence outside of us is huge. And so as we're like swirling around on this little planet, we think our situations are so huge, which they're big to us, but like they're not big to the universe. They're quite small usually. So if we see it from like that lens, we're like, okay, this is something manageable. And then we start to see, I love the saying, enlightenment is when the wave realizes it is the ocean. The knowing that we are one with all of that. So if we can really tap into the feeling that we are one with the cosmic universe, with the entire existence, with God and everything, that we are actually one with that. We're an extension of that power, that energy, that magnificence, that we are one with that. If you could feel that even for a breath. And that's what I love about these things, because these practices help you to like feel what does that feel like? It feels like bliss. It feels like limitless expansiveness. It feels joy. It feels like everything's okay. That feeling is the feeling of flow state. So when we tap into the knowing of this expansive universe, and then we look at like whatever our unique sort of like problem is right now, usually if we're suffering or if we're facing a big challenge, there's something out of alignment with our destiny, with our highest self, with our true self, with what we're here to do. There's something out of alignment. And that's what I love about yoga too. We teach how to be in alignment physically. Your body needs to be in alignment. Your spine, your physical, when you're doing postures, they need to be in an alignment. physically, but that alignment is also a philosophy, alignment with your highest self, your alignment with your purpose of life, alignment with the right people, the right energy, the right location to live, even like all the things in life is all about alignment. So if we can really see it that way, then we can see that any kind of thing that's challenging us is pushing us towards a path of more alignment. If we see it that way. Now, if we don't see it that way, then we say like, oh, I'm struggling, I'm suffering. And then we go into complaining, or we go into this kind of like story about it and like our opinion about it, and try to hold on and attach ourselves to the way that we wish that it was, then we suffer. But if we let go and we step outside and we say, what is this teaching me? And is it directing me in another better path? Is there something more aligned for me in another way? Can I go around the boulder? Yeah, instead of smash into it and then have a broken boat and have to deal with that. Instead, can I go around the boulder in the middle of my river and find the path of flow? And the only way to do that is to be able to take yourself out of the minutia, the specifics of whatever it is that you're dealing with, and to be able to step back and see it from a lens of a clearer perspective. That's what I was talking about earlier. Eagle vision. Eagle vision. You see far and wide. You see the entire existence, cosmic galaxy, like universe, multiverse, whatever you want to call this. You see all of that, and that you are one with that. And so, like, whatever this specific little thing here, it's a redirection. It's telling you to do something different, even if it's a health challenge. So often, I'll tell you one thing I learned so much. I had scoliosis. I got hit by a car when I was 18 while I was riding my bicycle. I did die for about a minute. And I saw myself from above, and they were cutting my clothes off of me. I was in the middle of the highway, and I ended up getting scoliosis from that. And it damaged my spine so dramatically. It caused a lot of problems. And the doctors all said, there's nothing you can do, and you just have to kind of go to chiropractors a couple times a week, and it'll get a little bit better, but it'll never be straight again. That's what doctors told me. And at the time, I didn't believe that, but I didn't have an actual solution either. So I just kind of like suffered, basically. And I had a lot of pain in my physical, skeletal, muscular situation because of that. So what happened was, a few years later, I met a yoga teacher who had healed her spine with yoga. She had been born with scoliosis. And so she took this very seriously, and she was doing this yoga postures to straighten the spine and to reform the alignment of the spine. And this gave me hope. I said, well, if she can do it, to me, I always think if one other person in the whole universe can do something, I can certainly do it. I even believe if nobody's ever done it, I could probably do it. But it definitely helps to have some kind of proof that somebody's done it. So anyway, when I heard she had done it, I was like, okay, I know I can too. And I put myself to the task of learning how to heal the spine, heal this scoliosis, and heal myself so that I could teach others how to do this as well. And now, like, I've had the opportunity to help millions of people, through yoga. And it was like that kind of led me to this. So if I were to look at it at that time, I'd say, oh my God, I can't believe this happened to me. But later I could see, wow, that actually happened for me because I had that accident. It led me to learn how to heal scoliosis. But here's the bigger picture. Why did my soul want to be hit by a car? Right? So you could ask yourself, why would I call in this dramatic, intense sort of suffering, right? And the question, so this is what I learned. I have this book that I recommend for all healers. It's called Hidden Messages in the Body. It's by a Dr. Michael J. Lincoln. And the book is 700-page physician's desk reference. And in there, it tells you the psychosomatic reason for all the different pain that we experience. So for example, if you have your left, like let's say your left shoulder has a pain, right? So there's a reason specifically that it's your shoulder and that it's your left side. So this tells you what the message that your soul wants to teach you. So it's like, okay, your left side is your feminine energy, and your shoulder has to do with maybe you feel like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulder. So this kind of feeling is the message. But like when you're having this pain, you're just like, oh my God, this pain. And so when you understand the reason that your soul is telling you this or giving you this pain is to move you in this redirection, right? Move you in the direction of, letting go of the feeling of that you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulder, and maybe invoke more peace and joy into your life, right? So this kind of is the way that our soul speaks to us through our physical pain and or through our emotional, mental, or even through our relationship dynamics. All of that is our teacher, and it's always teaching us what we need to heal, grow, learn, evolve, let go, and to become our highest and best version of ourselves in this life, to fulfill our purpose. So it's so interesting. Like if you look at life like that, then you say, oh, okay, so I have this little pain here. What is it telling me? Now, here's the thing. So if it starts, they actually say that it usually will start as a dream. It starts as a dream. If we don't get the message in that first little whisper, then it comes into the waking life. And then you get messages in your waking life. And you're like, oh, I'm getting this message. So then you go, okay. And if you ignore it still, then it goes into a pain. Maybe it's an ache. It's not like chronic yet, but it's a little ache here and there. If you don't address it at that stage, it gets worse. Then it becomes a chronic pain, and then it becomes something worse. It could be a debilitating disease. And if you don't listen still or get the message at all, it could become fatal, and or could be like an accident where you almost die. So there's different ways that the soul is speaking to us to teach us, to reveal to us what we need to hear and to learn. And if we're not listening, then we miss it. So for me, I was on a very bad path. Like in high school, I had so much trauma, and I got suspended from school. I was drinking a lot. I got arrested twice. Like I had a lot of problems, and I didn't really see all the signs. And so my soul smashed me awake with that car accident. And so that's how it works. So we don't want to get to that point. We don't want to get to the point where we're like, have to get smashed awake. We want to listen when it's a whisper. And that's what yoga teaches us. That's what meditation teaches us, because you'll hear it if you're listening. If you're doing your meditation and you're asking source or God for message, what is it I need to hear today? Whatever, ask the message and you'll get it. And if you listen, then you don't have to go through the deep, painful part, right? Where you get smashed awake. Instead, you can have a graceful awakening. You can have, this is a path of grace. It's where we don't have to suffer so dramatically. We stop ourselves before we hit that boulder and go around it. And we find the path of flow and grace. Let's see, I have some comments here. Let's see, I know a teacher in the subject who healed her back. That's cool. Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, you know what it is? It's like more and more stories of that is what we need, because the more people know that it's possible, that's when we see people giving it a try. Because it's not something that you snap your fingers and it's like overnight necessarily. You do have to do consistent practice. And that's why I encourage this idea of like creating habits, right? The habits that we have are what determine our destiny, basically. And so if we don't make it a daily habit, then we may never get to that full healing. So when you get the message, do it. And if you've been getting a message, you need to get up earlier, or you need to do more yoga, or maybe change your diet, or whatever the message that you might be getting, listen to it. It's your soul speaking to you. So often we want to hold on to like the way that we were, but if we want to grow, that old self has to die. And so I always think about it like the butterfly that goes into the caterpillar, that goes into the cocoon. The caterpillar goes into a cocoon not knowing that it's going to completely have to dissolve. Everything about it has to dissolve completely in order to become the butterfly. And so that's what's called metamorphosis. I also call that transformation. And I think about how we all have been going through that on Earth lately, especially for COVID and everything that's been going on. But that we are at a time on Earth where we have a responsibility to our evolution, because our evolution is paramount. It's impacting everyone around us, and it's a challenging time to be on Earth anyway. So we have to step it up a bit. It's like the survival of the fittest in a way, right? So it's like if we don't grow, evolve, and become stronger, we will die in this environment, because this Earth environment is a testing ground right now as we move through the final stage of the Capricorn transit with Pluto. So if you've been feeling this push to like grow and like the challenges coming into your life, you're not alone, and know that it's part of life. Now, some people make it look like they don't have any challenges, and it's difficult because if you compare yourself to others, it could feel like, oh, I'm the only one going through stuff. But like the truth is, everybody's going through something, and everybody has different phases of life. So somebody might be in their celebration phase. Maybe they made it through the hard part and they're in the celebration phase. Maybe somebody else had a difficult last lifetime and this lifetime is a little easier, so you look at the continuum of the soul, like it could be this is my lifetime to experience a lot of challenges so that I grow very, very strong, and then I can handle everything. And that's how I like to look at it. So if you think about people that go into the military or people in basic training, like they have to get up. I remember I have a friend, he did 6 marathons back to back in 1 week. 6 marathons. And some people actually choose to go through them voluntarily. Like he actually chose to do that. Like he almost died. Like he went through this physical, emotional, mental challenge. But what it does is, whether we choose it or whether it chooses us, we have to grow. And so if we challenge ourselves every day a little bit, then we kind of can get around some of the universes sort of like providing us with the challenge. And we kind of like do it in a more graceful way because we're learning through our practice. So you can do that with yoga. So with the yoga practice, let's do a kriya together. We're going to kind of complete our session today with this beautiful practice that I really enjoy. And let me see if I can skip that back a little. So kriyas are practices, like I said, that combine the breath, meditation, mantra, and a repetitive movement with a posture. So it's like this combination of things that really brings a lot of shift in the energy. So this specific kriya, if I can find it, let me see if I can find it. This one, what I really like about it is that it's, let me see if I can get her doing it. This one, I have this video that I like to play so that it keeps me on the timing of it. So the first part, I'll demonstrate. The first part, you're going to go like this. The hands are like this. Now, what it also does is it builds hand-eye coordination. And so focus and hand-eye coordination. So the first part is you're going to hit the hands side by side like this, and this. So it's like this. Now you can do it slow, like this and this. I find doing it slow harder because when I do it slow, I like miss more. But if I do it faster, I just go like this, and it actually is easier for me. But when I started out, I was doing it slower. So each thing that we do is for 3 minutes. This is actually about a 15 to 17 minute kriya. So what I like about it is it clears your energy. It keeps you very focused, and it's a very interesting thing, because if you've ever done a kriya with me, if you're doing the yoga teacher training, for example, on the flow state, that you will see that it challenges you. There will be a moment where you want to quit, that you're like, this hurts, like you're like, what am I doing this for? I remember the first time I did kriyas, like we had to do this one for 30 minutes. It was like standing in a squat position with your tongue out. It was so uncomfortable. I remember the whole time thinking I wanted to die. It was so uncomfortable. But that's the power of it is that it makes you move through that mind that's like, why am I doing this? And like all the negative self and like, I'm gonna die and all of that. And you move through it. And then you get to the other side and you're like, that was so interesting to see how your mind does that. And you realize you have power over that, and that you're more powerful than your mind. This is the important part. It teaches you all of that. Oh, we're back. Somehow I lost you, but I'm so happy because now I can see everybody. Praise the Lord. Okay, we're together now and I can finally see everybody. We're gonna do this kriya. So this is the first part. You're gonna do this. It's 30, it's 3 minutes, and you say the word HUD. So HUD, 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 but you could also say God if you want. You could just say love. I like to just give the option for you to do different words if you want. But basically, we're gonna do this part, then 3 minutes of that, and then the second part, you have your arms straight up, and they go like this. So the fingers are spread wide, and let me see if I can go like this. So it'll be like this, and you just go like this, and you do a mantra with this, which is I change it up. Some people, like when I learned it, she was saying to say one thing, but I like to say thank you God. So I say thank you God in my head, just, but you're doing a breath in and out of the nose. Inhale, exhale, fire breath with the arms like this, and it's thank you God. So it's, you can also put the tongue on the roof of the mouth for that one. Yes, Jennifer, we're still recording. It's on YouTube, and you guys will have the replay of this too. Thank you for your patience with that. That was so interesting. I never had that happen before with Zoom, where I couldn't see the people in the room. Anyway, so we're back. So that's the second part, is this one. And we do that for 3 minutes. And then the next part is you take your thumb, you curl it in, and you hold the thumb like this. And then you have the arms up, and you go like this, and you circle the arms. And what I like to do, the mantra for this part is what I like to say. You could do also thank you God. I like thank you God. You could say it out loud though. So the other one, you say it in your mind because you're doing the breath. This one you say it out loud, thank you God, or you can just say God, 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 God. The one that I learned it from, she just says God, but I like to say thank you God. So they're both very fine, whatever you like. Then the last part, you do this where your hands are in front of your torso and your fingers are spread wide, and you go like this. And it goes and I'll tell you the mantra when we're doing it, but basically it's a mantra. You say it out loud, and then you whisper it, and then you whistle it. So it's 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes. And then the last part, you have your arms up like this, and you just hold your arms, and you inhale, and you hold the breath for 20 seconds, and then exhale slowly, and hold it out for 20 seconds. So it's inhale, inhale, and that's 3 minutes. And then at the end, you just put your arms down, and we just complete the practice. So this is the kriya, has a number of little parts to it, which I like. I like when they are more multifaceted, because what it does is it trains your brain to be able, it's like that neural network thing we were talking about. It rewires a neural network in a new way. So what you're doing is you're clearing your energy field with the breath, the movement, and then you're conditioning your consciousness to push through difficulties and to be able to build strength and resilience. And this kriya specifically is designed to help you clear your energy field in such a way that it would open a portal for more abundance to come into your life. So let's see how it goes. I'm going to play the recording because I like this recording. It keeps you on like pace. Okay. Hut, 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 hard, 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 hard. Thumbs up.
Navel. Direct tug mentally from your navel. Fingers stretched. Keep your elbows stretching. Looking at the tip of the nose. Arm long. Elbows straight. There is no bend in the elbow. Working on your 60-degree angle, your electromagnetic field. Maintain the integrity of the posture at all times. Flow magnetic energy. Make it activate the prosperity of all forms. Being magnetically attracted into your life. Elbows straight. Your arms standing from your heart. Radiate that heart energy of unconditional power, unconditional love. That is the ultimate power. Get into it now. All the auric layers. Feeling of prosperity. Pull it in from the ether. You're tapping into that magnetic field, the spirit field. Embodying it now into your physical form. All prosperity comes to you. Letting go of any grief, any attachments that block the flow through prosperity. The things that can be moving, just you and you will receive. Keep keeping yourself petrified. More power, more breath. Power of your heart. Your heart meridian. True love, true abundance, true connection, self-acceptance, self-value. Must give yourself your highest value now. And love yourself deeply. Keep opening up the heart. Not this side of feet, God.
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 Thank you, God. Thank you,
God.
God. Thank you, God.
God. Squeeze your feet, God. God.
Thank you,
God.
God. Thank you, God.
God. Powerful movements. God. Talk to your body, God. 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 Vibrate it. God. 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 Elbows straight. God. 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 Look at the tip of the nose. God. 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 More power. More energy. God. 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 Use the tip of the tongue on the upper palate. God. The navel. God. 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 Leave the negative energy now. God. The fear. God. 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 Hand it over. God. 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 Keep purifying your energy. God. Call in the God consciousness. God. God. The God realization. God. God. Go to prosperity at that level. God. Be of service. God. 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 Stretch. God. Squeeze. God. 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 Arms down now. Hare Hare.
Waheguru. Had Hare Hare. Waheguru. Had Hare Hare. Waheguru.
Relax the shoulders.
Had Hare Hare.
Hands are activated.
Waheguru. Had Hare Hare. 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 Waheguru. Had Hare.
Close your eyes. Inhale slowly through the nose. When you hear the chime, hold the breath in for 20 seconds. Then when you hear the next chime, hold the breath, release the breath, exhaling slowly.
Just relax and feel the sensations inside of your body. With your eyes. Relax your shoulders. Touch the stillness inside. And slowly coming back to this space, to your center, open your eyes. We're going to complete our practice with one Om together. Prayer at your heart. We'll send this prayer of Om, which is the primordial sound of the universe, connecting everything, sending love and healing and compassion out to all beings in the world and Mother Earth and everybody. Inhale deeply. Om. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free. I love you. Namaste, Satnam. I want to give everybody an opportunity that's been here with us this whole time. If anybody has any questions, please unmute yourself, ask anything. Lori, I see your comment. I saw some of you guys saying that the sound went out for a minute and then it came back. So sorry about that. I don't know what happened, but I'm happy it came back. Let's see. Anybody have any questions or comments, or you just want to share how you like that kriya, and or anything about the YTT? If you're in the YTT, if you're watching this, you're not in the YTT, you can join us anytime. And it's at flowstate.yoga is the website, flowstate.yoga. Submit an application, join us. It's a life-changing journey and 300-hour certification. And we're happy to have you. And also, like I said, we're getting ready to launch the BFF Gift Club. So if you guys go check it out, brightfuture.org is the website. Brightfuture.org. It's a way that we can all contribute to make the future bright for everyone, and at the same time, get some beautiful gifts for your friends, wellness gifts that show that you care. And it's really is the gift that keeps on giving. When you give somebody something that's good for their health, it impacts them for the rest of their life, versus like, if you just get somebody like, let's say, socks or like they're useful, but like if you get something that's good for their health, if you teach someone, I remember I taught people meditation one time, and they kept doing it, and it changed their entire trajectory of their life. One of my favorite stories is a young guy I taught meditation in Haiti after the earthquake when he lost everything, and I taught him meditation just one time. He kept practicing meditation every day after that, and he ended up getting into a very good college in the USA, getting a full ride scholarship, and making a wonderful life for himself just from the power of the mind, and literally just from one time. So when you teach people these things, whether they're children or adults, it really can and will change the trajectory of their entire life and get them on a path of healing and wellness that can prevent a lot of suffering for themselves and for everyone around them. So we really are planting seeds of a bright future every time you share any of these things with people, and also when you practice yourself. So I really encourage to keep practicing, and we're going to be here every Sunday for the next 12 weeks at least, doing these live sessions, 9 a.m. Pacific time, 2 hours. And if you're in the YTT, this is our live sessions. And if you are not in the YTT, join us. And we'd love to have you a part of it. We're doing a lot of really exciting things this year with the Flow State Institute. Can't wait to share more about that in our next session next week. Let's see, I got some comments. Lori says, my shoulders needed that. Plus it felt amazing. Oh, good. Emily, my shoulders will feel it for sure. It felt amazing at the end. Oh, good. Jennifer said that kriya was incredible. I got chills for half of it. Then I felt so calm the other. Wow, I love this feedback, Jennifer. You guys are amazing. Thank you for your thoughts and your feedback. It is really interesting. When you get into kriyas, you realize it's powerful. Like, it's really the most powerful medicine. And even the work that I've done with Dr. Khalsa from Harvard, kriyas are the practices that they've studied the most at Harvard and at different science studies. Even there's been one at Yale, different studies that show when you do these kriyas, and they even have MRI brain scans, like before and after, even just one time doing it, it starts to change your brain and awaken the gray matter where it like normally was dormant and not really active part of your brain. It can awaken parts of the brain. So it's healing for autism even, and different people, different type of creativity can awaken. That's why I call this flow state yoga, because to be in flow is to be able to access the infinite intelligence of the universe, and to be able to access the creativity of the universe, to be able to live your life in the highest possible way, optimizing life, we call it. So thank you for being a part of the community, and be sure and tell your friends if you know anybody who would like to join us either in our live sessions or in our YTT. Become a certified teacher, change your life, change the lives of those around you, be a part of our team, our community, our sort of like, I call it a movement. We're creating a movement of wellness that's really dedicated to healing humanity and bringing wellness to those who need it the most. And we're going to be creating an app in the new year that would be a platform for our graduates to be able to offer coaching and healing sessions for those who need it through there as well. And we have lots of different resources available for you. And like I said, check out the BFF Gift Club. Go buy a gift box for one of your friends. We have different flavors. We have the chocolate flavored one, which is my favorite, cacao aphrodisiac chocolate. And we have chai one that's amazing with energy, ginseng. It's all natural, all healthy, all organic. We even got certified organic, which I'm so profoundly excited about that, because it's very hard to get USDA certified organic. We got that for our products. So can't wait to hear how you love them. And they're available now at the website brightfuture.org. And all of the all of the proceeds from all of our gift boxes are going to provide scholarships and resources, education, and different opportunities for people who are struggling with mental health, PTSD, especially children in the schools, school teachers, and veterans is a big part of our focus now. So please support us, spread the word. You can also join our affiliate community where you can earn income for telling your friends about the BFF Gift Club. And it's going to be a wonderful thing for people to get gifts for the holidays. And so I thank you in advance for spreading the word. And I love you guys. Many blessings. Have a beautiful, beautiful Sunday. Namaste. I'll see you soon.